What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, there wasn't a lot going on this past week, just the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. They just keep on and on about that, and it's going to be a while before that's probably resolved. At least they're not talking about the CV much anymore. The first thing I want to go over with you is, not too long ago, Peacemaker finally dropped its final episode. They had already renewed it for a season 2, which makes entirely no sense. It makes about as much sense as they did with the whole bat whammon. And kept it going as well. Peacemaker is about the worst superhero TV show I've ever watched. Luckily, it's got bat whammon out there to make it's 10 times even worse. But Peacemaker is definitely one of the worst superhero shows I've ever seen. Now, I understand he was trying to make it into like this comedy thing. It's supposed to be retarded, but it just, instead of being, stupid funny, it was just plain retarded. The jokes in it are all extremely raunchy. It's all dick jokes, something to do with sex. It's just fucking retarded. It's something like a 14 or 15-year-old would fucking write jokes. It's that bad. Terrible. None of the characters are even likable. Seriously, not one of them are likable. I hated every single character on the fucking show. They were all dumb. Every single one of them. Just god awful. The whole thing with his daddy was even 10 times worse. It has to do with aliens again. Like, the motherfucker can't get off of aliens. I don't know what the fuck James Gunn's problem is, but jeez. He's done better shit than this. This was god awful. I do not recommend this because it was just terrible. Terrible. And it had quite a lot of leftist cringe in it. So, 2 thumbs down. Terrible show. Don't bother. Moving on. The next show I watched was done in the early 90s. It was called Alien Nation. Now, they did a movie like in 88 or 89, and then they turned it into a TV series. And they tried really hard to try to get this show a go. I just don't think it, at the time, it connected with the audience very well. It has a cult following now. It just seems like a lot of your older shows that didn't do very well back then, now all of a sudden they have a cult following. It's kind of strange. This mainly had Gary Graham as Detective Sykes in it. It also had starred Terrace as, you know, his girlfriend or whatever. And she's known as a B-rated actress. You know, she's been around for a while. She's fairly well known. Terry Tree is. But anyways, the show basically, it's about a group of aliens that kind of like crash land on our planet. They were supposed to be slaves. So basically they're escaped slaves. They overthrew their masters, their supposed overlords or whatever that were on the ship. And escaped to Earth. Now, they never did get to their final destination. They were supposed to be taken to another world or whatever as slaves, but they never got there. Instead, supposedly Earth's government decides to repopulate them here. But the funny thing is they only repopulate them into the city of Los Angeles. I mean, they don't, nowhere in the show do you hear of them going anywhere else. It's all in the city of Los Angeles. Now, of course, following the movie, Detective Sykes gets partnered up with the only newcomer to have made detective, and because he doesn't have a partner anymore, so him and a newcomer named George, they become partners. Of course, George eventually surpasses him, which kind of irritates Sykes. There's a kind of a love thing going on between Sykes and his another tenant in the same building he's got in apartments that he's living in, and her name is I think it's Cynthia, and she's that's Terry Trea's character. And throughout the show, you're basically being dealt how hard it is for supposedly newcomers to live in a, you know, or integrate into human society, because the culture is completely different, blah blah blah. And you discover some stuff along the way. There's a set of like 4 or 5 movies after the show, because I kept trying to get it going again, but it just never did take off. Kind of like the Babylon 5 series. In the movies, you learn a little bit more about the others, the slavers and shit like that. It was okay for what it was. It was alright. I just don't think people were ready for that kind of thing yet. If they gave it another go now, it might actually take off. Who knows? But it was a decent TV show to watch. I give it a thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. It was pretty good. It wasn't bad. You know, a lot of the buddy, you know, cop type stuff that was going on in the 90s. I only did 1 season. So if you're just looking for something to check out that's fairly decent, an old sci-fi show, go ahead and check it out. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Okay, let's move on to your B-movie reviews. This week is Comedy Week.
Big Louise on somebody. Fresh in the game, putting it down. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you want the south side, represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you want the north side, represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you on the west side, represent, throw it up. Everybody jump, make the club get crunk. If you on the east side, represent, throw it up.
So for all you movie holics out there, I have chosen a couple of movies that I had heard about. It's supposed to be really funny, really funny. Good movies, done in the early 80s, and I thought, okay, I'll check it out. I've never watched, I've seen, clips and shit of the movies, but I've never actually watched them. Basically, there's two of them, and it's the Caddyshack series. Now, the first one was done in 1980, and it made about 40 million worldwide. It had quite a few actors in it: Rodney Dangerfield, Chevy Chase, Cindy Morgan, and Bill Murray. It's basically a movie about two things. You have this judge who's like the president of the club of the golf course or whatever. And then you have Rodney Dangerfield who comes in and, he kind of stirs up trouble. No one really likes him because he's pretty out there. So they get into a rivalry and they decide to fight over the club by having a golf game. Now Chevy Chase plays a character that he's pretty much the owner of the club for the most part. I mean, he's part owner because of his father, who used to own the club. Anyways, and the judge and his group of guys, they're part owners too. So they decide to have this rivalry where they're going to duke it out on a game of golf and see who wins. You also have a second storyline going on about a caddy who's trying to get a scholarship to go to school. And, he keeps having a couple of love affairs in the movie, and it's, eventually, he helps Rodney Dangerfield win the club, and blah blah blah. Rodney Dangerfield decides to help pay his school tuition. Anyways, honestly, I really didn't find the movie funny at all. You had a bunch of scenes with the you have this supposed like crazy gopher tearing up the golf course, and Bill Murray, he plays the groundskeeper. He's supposed to be taking out this gopher, but which really never happens. It just, I don't know. It wasn't funny. I didn't get any of it. It was kind of silly. I really didn't care for it, to be honest. I know that's going to shock some people, but I just didn't find it funny. I like 80s comedies, but this one was just, it wasn't funny at all. Do I recommend it? Not if you're actually looking for a decent comedy. I give it 2 thumbs down. I didn't care for it. It had some decent actors in it and stuff. It just wasn't funny. The only parts in the whole entire movie that I actually enjoyed was the very few parts that you had Rodney Dangerfield on screen. You know, he was okay. You know, you either like his type of comedy or you don't. Some of his jokes were kind of funny, but most of the movie fell flat for me. But that's just my opinion. And of course, next is the sequel, which Chevy Chase comes back and reprises his role. Then you have Dan Aykroyd, and then Robert Stack, Diane Cannon. Phew, she was a hottie back then. And then Dina Merrill was in it as well. The movie was done in 1982, and it only made about $12 million worldwide. It didn't do all that well. And to be honest, I don't know. This movie was a little bit different from the first one. Now, you do have the little love story of a caddy and the daughter of one of the guys in the club. But she's trying to get in with the people that run the club. Like Robert Stack is the president of the club, and Dina Merrill plays his wife. They have a run-in with this girl's father, who is like a land developer. He's invited to the club. He doesn't realize who they are until he gets there, and then he finds out they're the ones suing him because they're some historical society crap. So anyways, they get in and again, there's another rivalry there. They mess around with each other a couple of times before they decide, okay, we're going to find out who is going to get ownership of the club. Let's play for it. So you have another round of golf to determine who gets the club and who leaves. Chevy Chase, of course, plays mainly the owner of the club again. Anyways, I actually found this one, the sequel, better than I did the first one. I actually liked it way better. I don't know, it just seemed quite a bit better to me. It's basically the same storyline, but Robert Stack, hires Dan Aykroyd to come in there and kill the girl's father that he's having a rivalry with. But Dan Aykroyd screws it up, and him and the Gophers start getting into it. He kind of took Bill Murray's place. But he's not a groundskeeper. He's like this army vet or mercenaries turned into an assassin, but he's a dumb one. But there's a couple of good scenes in there. I really like Robert Stack. He does a really good job in this movie. But yeah, it's far better and a lot more funnier than the first one. But again, that is my opinion. I actually give this one. It wasn't the greatest but it wasn't bad either. I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It wasn't too bad for a sequel. You know, it was fairly funny. It was way better than the first one. But anyways, that's all I have for you this week. If you have any comments about what I talked about earlier in the video, please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have any suggestions of, you can think of any underrated movies or B movies that you think I may have never heard of or seen, please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below. And until next time, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you just been told.